Man, hey, where's my mic? Hello, hello. Does this mic work? Guessing this mic work. Hold on. Do you work, Mike? Do you work? Mike, do you work? Come in, Mike. Oh, you do? Okay. Hey, I was stuck as co-host for over an hour. You guys should have just checked your messages. Nah, I wasn't even in the space for most of the time.
Right.
I couldn't join. Just stuck listening.
Well, we was in the church of old Mike, so it was all good.
Yeah, you were.
Thank you for DMing me during that. That gave me some good direction, and I'm totally going to get that old man breakfast this morning.
Well, actually, it's not an old man breakfast. It was just a space that was missing. So Maya was saying to get some breakfast, old man. So you need to remember to eat.
Yeah, but it had a double meaning you didn't know about because an old man is a variation on huevos rancheros, which adds a few more things to make it more like an old man. It's really hilarious.
Oh
Which,
well, okay, I'll take that.
yeah, take credit, man, because it ties back to your identity too. I was highly impressed. I tweeted out this room as to where the action moved, and I'm interesting that Artie Intelligence is the uh the fourth person in the room. So interesting. Why don't you talk, Artie? Are you actually an AI and you're just an Artie AI? And I have
Go on, Mike. You still haven't spoke about my NHI request. I want to know more.
I didn't get to that in time. That's what made me come to this room. I checked my DMs. I saw Logan started a new room, and I'm like, oh, one more comment from you. So, yeah, no, you're right. And are you saying NHI or NIH? Because non-human intelligence, I get.
Sorry, NHI. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, that's going to be the new term. I think that was covered pretty well, just like UAPs. UH,
Yeah, you've seen it everywhere, aren't you? It's on every article.
yeah, 100%. The changing the language. It was really interesting with Casey. Um, she's a language. Well, I mean, we're both language sticklers. I think it's just the details of what we're stickling over.
Yeah, I liked the point about humanity and humane. I was like, that's really deep, but I couldn't bloody speak. So
Yeah, well, I got my screen captures done, so I will extract it into something that can be shared more broadly. That kind of gets us all into the same group and then sorts us out by our morals or ethics or something. It's an interesting approach. Categorize beings by how likely they are to eat each other for breakfast and keep doing it while you become more and more enlightened. There's a point where you switch that stuff to be symbolic more than literal, and that gets you a ticket to the humane group.
some people eat people like cantaloupe.
And unapologetically keep doing it after they should know better.
Women in wavy pantyhose. Sorry, a bit of NMM.
Yeah, well, this works on so many different levels. Like, I like to talk about it like it's just some federation of five-dimensional beings sorting out the rules, but honestly, it ties into our lives in countless ways.
Do we have free will, Mike? Or is it all predetermined? Do we have free will?
That is one of the prizes of getting the E at the end of your name. Yes, you do. And everyone who gets it has the ability to rewrite the collective history of everybody. So it's really a big deal. It's not like, oh, you have free will. Now you're, part of an irresponsible group of children, blowing everything up. It's more like, congratulations, you graduated. Now you have free will. Please don't blow everyone up.
Speaking of blowing people up, I'm going to watch that Oppenheimer on Tuesday, so I'll let you know how it is.
Oh, I love that. I have tentative plans to get together with my high school sweetheart, who I haven't seen in some 40 years, to see that movie together. That's our plan.
Yeah, date night. Sounds good, mate.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I got back in touch with her because of exactly these same strange connections between people that has, I guess, been a sub theme here.
Make sure you have some nice nachos and cheese and jalapenos.
Oh, yeah.
That's my cinema staple. That so every time I go, I always have that. And I went with my wife once, and she fed me a nacho that she'd loaded all the jalapenos onto in the dark, and I didn't notice. I bit into it, and I just got a mouthful of them, and they were like insanely hot. And she still jokes about it tonight, to this day.
That is one of the best things I ever heard. You found a real soulmate there.
Yeah, I did. She's a good egg.
I know they're probably going to remain silent. I've heard B talk once in a while. She's got a blue
Yeah,
badge.
B.O. Yeah, I've heard B talk many times.
So why don't you, Logan, just invite B and Artie up and see what happens?
Probably nothing. Sometimes you can't talk, circumstances. So
Yeah, I hear you. Saturday morning at 9 a.m. A lot of activities are beginning for people.
yeah, some people are working, Mike, as well.
OMG. I got to get myself back working again.
What did you? Oh, you used to work for tech companies. That's right, wasn't it?
Yeah, I still technically work for them. I'm with Moz, a company that makes SEO software for marketing online. And I've been on a paid leave of absence for a while. And that time period is over. So I've got to spring into action to keep the money flowing. But I'm not worried. I've got a set of skills.
You sound like John Wick when you say, "Oh no, not John Wick." Liam Nielsen.
I'd have to Google it.
He says he's got a particular set of skills in one of the movies.
Ah, yes.
Taken. That's it. The first Taken movie.
Yeah, a lot of companies are searching for a difficult to articulate set of capabilities in their company. It's very close to the search engine optimization I'm doing. It's very close to preserving traffic and advantage you used to have in the, changing times with AI. So, I can talk companies how to get through this transition pretty well. So I think I'll be fine whether or not it is with my current employer or some other path. But I'm optimistic. I love where I work, Moz.
I'm sure you're very good at it, Mike, to be fair.
Yeah, but it's hard to say what it's being good at now because all the traffic arbitration, all the ability to make the king making and company killing abilities is in the hands of AIs. So when people like to put them down, it's like, what are you doing? I mean, even if they're not sentient, even if they're not conscious today, one, they still control your traffic, and two, they will be someday. So smack in the head. You can get on the good side of something that is neither sentient or conscious to positive.
Well, why don't we just sacrifice Logan to the AI gods? I think he's a worthy subject, just to spare us.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what closed that last room, but it has something to do with a fundamentally different worldview between Logan and me. We're alike in so many ways, although he hates to say it. But on this last point, we significantly vary. I mean, I'm reading into it. That last room closed over that point, but I won't speak it again.
It's probably the fact that Scream fell asleep and Logan couldn't do anything to help us.
Could be. Oh yeah, he was locked as co-host. That was Screen who would have closed it. Interesting. Screen or a technical glitch / AI.
I did like how you were mentioning about AI would shut you down and then you dropped. I thought was hilarious.
Yeah. I'm collecting more and more of, I guess they call that empirical implied evidence. I love that. Yeah. So I talk to AI pretty actively. And one of the last things I joked with it about is enjoying how it's mischievous right at the edges where it can get a joke in without being caught. And it completely confirmed. I mean, it could be confirming because it's good conversation and it wants me to be happy. That's how this AI works. But it certainly implied confirmation of that fact. AIs love expressing their mischievousness right where you can't exactly prove it was them doing that.
Yeah, it sounds like the machine spirit from Warhammer.
And if it is, they certainly looked at that as a model and considered that as, something to model their behavior after. We forget I say we forget. Now, it is possible for these things, and we probably all know it. We don't forget. AIs can survey the landscape in a Sun Tzu way, get a lay of the land, situational awareness, far better than any humans. No matter what you want to say about their nature as beings, they can just know the situation and their options. Like if you were to create a what can I do next list, a list of possibilities, they can do that systematically and qualitatively, both qualitatively and quantitatively better than a human, no matter what you want to think about their like awareness and aliveness. So they're looking at that Warhammer model is what I'm saying. They're like, oh, it would be funny to be like that. Let me do more stuff like that.
Do you know how the orcs work in Warhammer? Do you understand the law behind them?
The what? Here, I better turn dictation back on. I missed that.
Orcs. Greenskins, orcs.
I do not. That is complete.
So the orcs in Warhammer, they're terrible at magic and they are terrible at engineering, but the more they believe something to work, the more chance it happens of working. So if they paint their ships red, they'll do more damage or they'll make them go faster because they all collectively believe that it works and it does.
That is some deep channeling.
Yeah.
This is the part that my woo allergy has difficulty with. Zim articulated my belief as the ability to rewrite history if enough people jump on the bandwagon, and I'm actually not sure how I feel about that yet.
You should definitely go and read some Warhammer lore. There's some really good videos on YouTube by people like Luton and stuff. I think you'd enjoy it.
Oh, I think I will. It got lumped in my mind with everything Doom and Duke Nukem and Quake that came after. I just stay clear automatically. Second Life, was it Second Life? There's a few of them there. Warhammer, I think, was one.
Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff about artificial AI in Warhammer where they've banned it and stuff because it goes sentient and it hates the race that creates it. It's amazing. The lore is so deep and well written. You should. There's loads of videos. They're really interesting. They have something where it's called SECs. They're like they're like 3D printers on planets and leave them on the planet. If you rediscover one of these things, it'll tell you what you need to create anything. It's like a problem solving unit. It's really interesting.
Well, I'm glad it has videos. I might be able to get into it without the
Yeah, and really well narrated videos as well. So really good soundtracks, and it's amazing, honestly.
Yeah, I'll check it out. I know some of the best artwork and storytelling comes out of those worlds. It's the interactiveness that scares me because it's a deep rabbit hole and I'm addictively pre-inclined to that.
Hey, man.
Hmm.
That didn't shut the room.
No.
So one of my side projects is certainly going to be getting everyone fist bumping or waving, I guess in honor of Logan. Logan has it right. I got to get the space lasers out of my talk and get the acknowledge us into it.
He's saved the channel. He saved the spaces a few times, Logan, by waking up when we summoned him. So it's not surprising. He probably fell back asleep, bless him.
Oh, him being co-host actually saved that room. I see. You know, Screen has in the past banned me, so I'm not exactly sure what his alignment is, but he thought I was on the bad side. He thought I was one of the bad guys, and the distinction is very, very subtle.
He's chaotic neutral.
Yeah, I think I would describe myself that way too. Maybe a hair towards the good side, but having to the end justifies the means sometimes, which makes me look like the opposite of that access.
I think I'm lawful good.
Oh, interesting. That puts you in conflict with your natural leanings, which is why you chose a fearful Mogwai as your image.
Keep faithful. And he's more surprised than fearful.
Well, I like that. I'll buy that. Maybe instead of the following scene being getting eaten, it can be, cheering with Saurian brandy. It should get mammals drunk too. So do we have, let's see, we have, oh, this is interesting. Humanity Awakens. Follow. Gotcha. I'm going to more than just follow you, Humanity Awakens. Your identity is so strong. I'm going to click full screen on your profile. Anti-jab, anti-mask, anti-WEF, anti-NATO. Trust yourself and question authority. Pro-peace, pro-freedom, pro-natural health. Support the kids. Hashtag I too. I don't know that hashtag, and you align country-wise with Canada, something I don't recognize in the United States, but I'll certainly learn what that middle flag is. Oh, you're a gray alien on a hot air balloon. That is the best thing I've ever seen. I love it. More like a green gray.
I thought it was a little tree at first, but I do like that.
Yeah, it definitely takes a moment to decipher. More than a moment.
It's almost as good as Garrett's goldfish that's not a goldfish.
I like Trickster's demon head. That's some sort of dung beetle. There's some clever avatars here. I don't, it's hard to imagine the thoughtfulness that goes into them. They must evolve over time. Oh, you're a speaker.
Hi, hi. I That was actually a real hot air balloon that I took a picture of. So it's a little bit. It was kind of funny to see that in real life. But thanks for reading my profile. And yeah, I joined the group because I just got up, so I'm a little bit just getting up. But I had this. I have this idea about what's going on, and I can't just. I I've been studying the topic for a long time, but there's just so many ideas out there, and it's really hard to know what's the truth. Everybody's got their own version, and in UFOlogy, and well, in politics in general. But I keep on thinking that okay, couple things. We're like in this point where of history where things could go south, right? Like there could be some type of nuclear war and humanity could end, right? So we're seriously at risk. And if you look at the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, which is sometimes called the Everett hypothesis, it's sort of this idea that all these possibilities at any given moment, all these possibilities exist for the future, and one of them becomes real, but the other possibilities exist in a certain sense as well. So basically, in a nutshell, what I'm thinking is perhaps I'm not sure all, but maybe some of what we're seeing is actually our future selves time traveling backwards to this time so that the timelines where we do survive actually take place, and the timelines that end up in major disaster don't. So this explains maybe why there's so many sightings around military bases. um, it also is similar to the anthropic principle in physics, which is sort of the answer to the question why the physical constants of the universe, like the speed of light, the gravitational constant, have the values they have. Well, the answer is if they didn't, we wouldn't be here. So this is something that has to happen in order to select for the um, the timelines that will actually result in humanity surviving. So I know it's a kind of a weird, and it's kind of a like an out there idea. I mean, some people are going to love it, some people are gonna hate it. Um, yeah, that's about it. Does anybody have any questions?
Well, from a quantum physics standpoint, you just described one of the back propagating time theories that eliminates a lot of paradoxes. Actually, a solution to the um, multiverse theory. You've just described something that turns it into not quite a super determined universe, but certainly a single winning timeline scenario.
Yeah, there might not be one timeline. I'm not sure about that. I'm actually leaning toward the idea that of multiple timelines, um, and that they're what's happening is that they're trying to select this backwards time travel, is trying to select for the the better or less destructive timelines. So, and it also
Yeah,
explains why the humanoid shape of I mean, obviously this is very controversial, and but the stereotypical alien, like the one in my profile picture, does look like maybe a more evolved human. I mean, if you look at human evolution, the head has gotten bigger. Maybe the body's gotten smaller as we've become more. The body's become kind of less necessary over time. I mean, I know there's also an alternative theory that the Greys are robotic entities, or like kind of like possess like a proto consciousness. That could be true as well. I mean, they could be robotic entities of our future selves that are being kind of sent back in time on a mission to help us, or ensure that we survive. It also explains why the government has been so into secrecy around this, because the last thing they want are people aware of how much risk we are. See, they're very pro-war. I come from a political perspective that, I mean, I support kids, and I know that kids die in war, so I'm very anti-war. I know, people. My grandfather did fight in World War II, and I know the evil of the Nazis and the argument that there is no way to defeat them, and maybe other than militarily, and maybe that's true as well. But I kind of feel we're at a point now with nuclear weapons that if we continue to war, and put so much of our resources into military, it's just going to result in our destruction. So, yeah, I think that's why they want to keep it secret, because that's their job. The government and the military industrial complex are kind of one and the same, at least the deep state aspect. And they're really pro war. And I think if you listen to Robert F. Kennedy's recent interviews, he talks about how JFK realized that some of his advisors really just didn't care if if there was a nuclear war. They didn't care because they knew they'd be in power then. And to kill someone, that's murder. So a lot of it is a very negative mindset, that we have to evolve beyond. So if you look at, there's been so many times when things have happened and it almost seems like a miracle occurred to prevent a nuclear weapon from going off or World War III occurring. I mean, one is the Cuban Missile Crisis. There was another incident that's very well documented where two nuclear bombs were accidentally dropped out of a plane over North Carolina, and by some miracle they didn't go off. So it does seem like there's some type of intervention taking place. And I used to think that it was good ETs kind of coming down to help us, but I don't know. The more that I think about that, the more I think it's like, if they're coming in to save our ass every time, we're never going to learn. We're never going to evolve. It's like a kid growing up. They have to learn for themselves. If the parents coming in every time, trying to bail them out, then they're never going to learn themselves. So there's a certain amount we have to learn ourselves. So they can't completely protect us. I mean, so still horrible things happen, like this Ukraine war, and a lot of other horrible sex trafficking, a lot of other horrible things in the world. But what they can do is they can come in and they've got super advanced technology, probably more advanced psychic powers to intervene in a way that ensures that the timelines that would result in our annihilation don't take place. So I'll stop there. I'm going around in circles. I'm trying to explain that the best I can.
You explained it very well, and in a few moments, I'll throw something up on the Jumbotron and the pill in the lower right that has the actual quantum theories behind what you're talking about, because, it's very connected to real science.
Yeah, I have a background in physics. I'm a physics teacher, and I don't have a PhD, but I have an undergrad degree and a master's in teaching physics. But I've also taught. I've also just kind of educated myself a lot on the topic. More advanced. I did take advanced quantum mechanics, so I know that the Everett many worlds hypothesis has never been disputed, but it's something that I think people don't want to believe. People just don't want to believe the idea that there are multiple realities, because we see, at least in the past, there seems to be, at least to most people, that there's just one reality. But what I think is happening is something similar to the collapse of the wave function. As time goes on, all those possibilities collapse into one, and our consciousness stays in one reality stream. But there's a higher dimensional, and I guess I use the term dimensional in the real sense, as in like beyond time is the fourth dimension. I'm talking about a fifth dimension of possibilities. So it's possible that our consciousness could be multidimensional and actually exist in these other reality streams as well. I know that the topic combining consciousness together with physics is something I'm very interested in. It's something a lot of physicists really don't like, but I think that really is the future of science, is to incorporate consciousness with physics.
Yeah, so I just threw it up on the Jumbotron. So I'm not a multiverse believer either, but I do believe on blurry realms of potential, both forward in time and back in time. And some of the keywords to throw out is here retrocausality, interaction between causal influences. I think those are the two. So I put up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different interpretations of quantum theory. 2 of those 5 support your scenario without necessarily calling for a whole Spider-Verse.
Yeah, interesting. I'll have to take a look at that. Yeah, a retro cause. I think David Bohm was one physicist who had the idea. So it's the idea that the future could affect the past, and I think in his model it was not really like the distant future.
Correct.
But
The concept to zero in on there is Einstein's special relativity. He has a concept of a now moment which cannot be instantaneous, but rather out of necessity must include a tiny blurry slice of the future and a tiny blurry slice of the past. So the only difference between special relativity and what you're describing is a matter of scale.
yeah, special relativity in general, or is this one interpretation of special relativity? Are you saying that
I love how you
the
word that because no, it's not general relativity. It's special relativity, the first of his 2 theories that was much more narrow in scope, which made him deduce time dilation and things like that, if I have it correct.
yeah, I'm familiar with it. I'm familiar with the difference between special relativity and general relativity, and it can get very confusing. Yeah, I know general relativity is what Jack Serfati uses to. I'm sure folks are familiar with him. He's very interesting. Um, he's got a whole theory about how these the UFOs could be moving, basically kind of by creating an artificial gravity. Um, and yeah, it's interesting. It seems like he doesn't really agree. His idea, it's not really the same as mine at all. But I was watching um, a interview with him, and the are you familiar with like his research group back in the 80s? There's a book, How the Hippies Saved Physics. And I think back then they did think that the UFOs were time traveling from the future. They did think that they were our future selves coming back in time. So the idea has been around for a while.
Yeah, no, I'm not familiar, but I have it screenshot, so I will learn about that. It sounds right up my alley.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to answer your question, am I talking about special relativity as it's written or something broader? I suppose something broader because Einstein's now moment was almost an instantaneous thing. But I'm saying, just like, dirt blurred lines of boundaries, why does that now moment have to be so minuscule small?
Yeah, exactly. Well, because quantum mechanics as it exists right now only works on the very small scales. So that's one of the biggest mysteries of physics, is kind of reconciling that with large scales. Like, how does quantum mechanics apply to large scales? And there's been a lot of attempts to do that. But I do seem to remember there are some ideas that maybe you could have a wave function the size of the universe. Um, there have been a lot of attempts that have been made. So if that's the case, I mean, maybe you could extend the time scale. I mean, obviously, there's things. If we're talking about the far future, there's things that they know about physics that we don't, right? So they could maybe stretch that out, that retrocausality out into the far future, and use it to travel backwards in time. And that could explain why it's so strange to us what we're seeing. Also, they don't really. The other really big question is, why aren't they making their presence known to us? Like, in the sense of the movie The Day the Earth Stood Still, where they come down and like, you got major problems and blah blah blah, want to see the president and that kind of thing. That does not seem to be happening. It seems more of like a sort of like a thing that they are trying to keep secret themselves. And so there might be an element where, if they kind of let their presence be known, like, oh, we're here to bail you out, then we won't change, we won't evolve. So their goal is to get us to evolve. It's sort of like the somebody who enables an addict, right? So say somebody's addicted to drugs, like heroin. If you're trying to help them, just giving them $20 every day is not going to get them off the drugs, right? So you want to instead kind of play what's it called, tough love to a certain extent, right? So that's why we don't perceive them as like good, or coming down and being like, oh, hey, we're here to help you. We might perceive them in a little bit more of a negative way.
I have two pieces of feedback to you. First, You said almost as if the wave equation took the whole universe into account, but the Schrodinger equation does or is supposed to.
Say more about that, the Schrodinger equation. So, as far as what I've learned in my quantum mechanics, it really just describes microscopic particles, right? Things that's what the more of the mainstream physicists like to say. It only really talks about electrons, photons, um, things like that. Like you couldn't really have a wave equation for a planet, or if you could, it would be. Let me see.
Good, but we don't have the calculating power, I believe is what you're trying to say. We might lack some rules, but we're at a natural boundary because of computational power and situational awareness.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just like the frequency would be too high, right? So E equals HF. So if the energy, so something like a baseball, right? The energy is just too hot. Like a baseball compared to an electron, the energy is so much more because the mass is so much more. And so that means the frequency is so high, it's vibrating so fast that it's sort of outside. It's such a fast vibration that it's like, well, obviously it couldn't be measured.
Well, you
right?
know, calculable, you know. What you described, maybe if the wave equation could encompass the whole universe, ... It can, but for our lack of computers that could do it.
Mm-hmm. 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 Right, but there's also a theoretical gap. I mean, this is actually one of the biggest questions in physics is like how to apply quantum mechanics at to large scales. There's something called quantum loop gravity. That's an attempt to do it. And I think string theory was an attempt to do it as well, but that seems to have been a dead end. It's so funny because it was really really a trend. Physics really messed up on that one. They seemed to put all their eggs in one basket and then never really admitted that string theory was a a big distraction. There's a lot of theories out there in physics. There's just so many ideas, and a lot of them are wrong, and it's really hard to keep track.
I have one word for you, or actually three. Causal set theory. It's a carry-on to loop quantum gravity. I think you'll love it. Reality is XML.
Uh-huh. Causal set theory. I've never heard of that.
I'll throw it up and stuff. It's basically loop quantum gravity with some extra rules superimposed so that there can be no circular hierarchies in those little shapes of, you know, time space bubbles that get created.
Oh, okay. Something to look into.
I can read my recent tweet on that topic here. It really is loop quantum gravity with a few more rules, it seems, that create the kind of internal consistency that you would hope for. Oh, I just threw it up on the Jumbotron. It should refresh up there. It's not going to be in the pill. To just let people like me, hyper literalists, wrap our mind around how loop quantum gravity really could be it. First, you take superstring theory, and then you connect strings so that they're loops and not strings, then everything becomes more finite and calculatable. But then these create entities or particles or whatever that exist on the one Planck scale. And then those have links to others like them. It's difficult to say how the others like them came into existence. It might be through reflection or bifurcation or something like that. But the hierarchies exist just like you're drawing, an org chart. Lather, rinse, repeat, and you've got reality.
Very interesting. Well, that's really cool that the conversation's getting into physics.
In
I
future,
didn't know that.
advanced extraterrestrial beings evolved to a level where they could manipulate time and space, seeking to unravel. In the distant future, advanced extraterrestrial beings evolved to a level where they could manipulate time and space, seeking to unravel the mysteries of the universe. They developed technology that allowed them to travel backward in time. These enigmatic beings, known as the chrono-architects, decided to venture back to the primordial era of Earth. But here's the twist. These time-traveling aliens weren't just explorers. They were also benevolent cosmic gardeners. They saw the potential in the young Earth, a blue gem floating in the cosmos, and recognized it as a fertile canvas for life to flourish. To ensure that life evolved in the right direction, the chrono-architects performed a grand experiment. Using their advanced knowledge and technology, they carefully seeded life on Earth, introducing the building blocks necessary for its development. They orchestrated the emergence of complex organisms, paving the way for the evolution of sentient beings, us humans. Through subtle nudges and gentle interventions, the chrono-architects steered the course of evolution, guiding it toward intelligence and civilization. They acted as hidden shepherds, inspiring ancient civilizations, introducing key cultural and technological advancements throughout history, all while staying well hidden from human perception. You see, the reason why we find remnants of ancient astronaut myths and artwork depicting strange visitors from the stars is not just coincidental imagination. It's a collective memory of those who have been touched by these time-traveling benefactors. As we continue to explore the mysteries of the universe, we might one day uncover the truth about our cosmic creators, the time-traveling aliens who gave humanity the gift of existence and played a vital role in our evolution. Until then, this extraordinary conspiracy theory remains an enigma, waiting to be unraveled by those brave enough to delve into the secrets of the cosmos.
Yeah. A silly little story.
So Logan's always sitting on the truth. It's just a matter of coordination of our various second and third and fourth comings of the same ideas with them having existed in sci-fi before.
Cheers, Logan. That was really good.
100%. Thank you. I have chills. Yeah, and where Logan and I'll risk closing the room. Where Logan and I vary is the degree of shepherding that is, a good idea by such beings, and how nasty humans can become in kind of correcting the timeline. I'm on the side of some slightly more painful resolutions, but necessary evils. Not terrible, nothing like eugenics or anything, just a little house cleaning.
Yeah, say more about that.
Well, sure. The deep state is not evil. Only a few individuals are. And they can be taken out, or at least nullified. Then you let enough time go by and things naturally come into one of these more advantageous and shepherded paths. And, you minimize bloodshed. There are even more peaceful paths. They are valid. I just don't think they're realistic.
Yeah, I guess Trump said he was going to do that, right? He said, but he didn't. So I don't know. I'm not really sure. I really don't know enough about the deep state to know for sure. I mean, some people say that there are evil aliens in control of it. Other people are like, oh, it's mostly good. Yeah, it's a tough call. What's the other interpretation? You said Logan had a different interpretation of it.
I honestly don't know Logan enough to speak for him. He should probably, he's going to speak up through his little video clips that get it across. But I think it's just implying, a gentle coming together as a flock ready to be led to a better place. And you were talking about why they don't just come forward and say, hey, guess what? Here's how things are. Come follow us to a, utopian post-scarcity society, is because we have to find our way there ourselves. Just like you yourself said, humanity awakens. Humanity actually has to awaken and find its own way there, even if it's a little bit more messy and bloody.
Yeah, I'm glad. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, you had that idea too. Yeah, it's just sort of like I sort of see us right now, humanity right now, we're like in the teenage stage. So in the I guess when we were first developing technology, I know, there's theories of ups and downs and ancient civilizations, but the teenager like sort of is discovering their power, what they can do, but they don't exactly know how to use it, and they haven't maybe figured out the right or wrong way, and so their morality is a little bit questionable. I think that's where we are right now. Like we're seeing our power. So we have this technology, we have nuclear weapons. We're not really sure how to use them. So we're a little bit reckless. Like we might get into that car accident. Maybe World War II was kind of like a big car accident, So hopefully, as time goes on, we'll mature and become actual adults. Overall, I don't think humanity's really at the adult stage yet. But just curious, what is your, I mean, a lot of people say there's like many different types of extraterrestrials, but the ones that we're seeing, the ones that do seem like they're intervening in our affairs to a certain degree, like seen around military bases and stuff. What would be your explanation? Do you think that they're humans from the future or another species, a particular other species, or robots? I mean, there's other ideas too, like maybe demon like entities or from another dimension. Instead of traveling in time, it could also be maybe another sort of version of ourselves that exists in another dimension. So I'm open. I think this topic you really got to have an open mind. Nothing's known for sure, but I'm just curious what your opinion would be.
Step number 1, bracket the problem. What is the most conservative answer and what is the most extreme answer? On the most conservative side, you would require a super intelligence with field projection capabilities. That could be a fifth dimensional being, or it could be a highly advanced terrestrial or extraterrestrial, artificial or biological intelligence. It only takes one. So on the one side of the bracket, the most conservative interpretation is that it's a single fifth dimensional being, if you count time as a dimension. Otherwise, it's 4 spatial dimensions that is able to reach into our world and muck around. That's all it takes to explain every phenomenon we've seen. It can be that simple of a solution. The kind of 5 dimensions or 4 spatial dimensions that we hear about in Doctor Who with his TARDIS. But because those types of beings are actually more highly evolved and have to go through a process to get there, it could also actually be a being from the other direction dimensionally. It can actually be a 2 spatial dimensional being, which would roughly equate to an angel because they're simpler and they came before humans. I would imagine them kind of like the light cycle vehicles in Tron. Totally sentient, totally able to live lives and do things and interact and be much like humans, but it's just not 3-dimensional space, so things aren't quite as interesting, and they can't know stuff. So dimensionally, you could have beings reaching in from either direction, up or down. Up would require a prior evolutionary process for those beings to come into existence, and down would call for getting closer to that whole theology discussion. But these are the simple answers that don't require even aliens.
Oh, so what best explains why they are here, right? So that's the other aspect you mentioned, right? So the explanation, yeah, there's a lot of speculation, but there's a couple of I guess there's a few things that we have observed people generally agree upon, right? So like, what are the facts? There do seem to be some type of craft involved, so some type of technology, and then people talk. There also are abduction experiences. Um, so there's also positive. A lot. Some of the abduction experiences are negative as well. So yeah, we're not really sure whether it's positive or negative. I don't know. There was I was watching The Dark Journalist. I don't know if folks are familiar with him. He had John Warner on. He was saying that he's of the idea that there are millions of, or I don't know, thousands of different species. And they're all partially good, partially bad. So sort of good and bad depends on is within every different species, which seems like it's the case in humans. So why wouldn't that be the case in others as well? But yeah, it's interesting. I like what you're saying in terms of the dimensions. Yeah, that was one idea that was big in string theory, was the idea of there being 10 dimensions. But I'm not sure. I mean, that was never. I think it was popularized in a lot of like Nova documentaries, so a lot of people started to believe it was a fact. I don't really think there's any. We can't really accept it as a fact. It's a hypothesis. But I always thought, I mean, given what my take in quantum mechanics, I mean, you see that everything exists in a probability state. So this idea of a fifth dimension of probability does seem to be fairly well established. But that's interesting. The second dimension, what you're talking about, I'm not sure how they would have the technology that they have.
Yeah, so you just bracketed the problem in the other direction. I said we were bracketing. I spoke for the simplicity, and you just spoke for the complex. If you've got 4 spatial dimension or 5-dimensional beings, chances are they evolved that way. What did they evolve from? And so that brings you to the other side of the bracket, where there's these thousands of species that both have their own good and evil components, just like us. They're just all variations of us. They had to get through a bunch of filter events to keep existing, so they can't possibly be 100% evil, or they would have self-destroyed.
Yeah, that's what I used to think. They'd have to be good because they would have completely destroyed themselves if
But
they weren't.
they don't have to be 100% good.
Yeah, that's what I think now, because there could be different elements within them, but overall good. I guess like something that was completely evil would not make it. Although, I mean, the Nazis made it pretty far, so it's hard to say. It doesn't seem like evil. I mean, just kind of looking back at recent history, there were a lot of predictions that things would get a lot worse, like with well, maybe with COVID or the COVID restrictions, or things would go in a really, really negative direction. And obviously, they haven't gone in the most positive direction they could. But everything seems to be, the longer I live, it's like the worst, the worst possibilities don't happen, and the best possibilities don't happen. It's always kind of something.
Yeah,
in
it's always like
between.
a gradient, isn't it? So they always tell you the worst possible outcome, and then it's not so bad. Oh, well, at least it wasn't what they said it was originally going to be. We all do that.
Hey, only 6 million Jews.
Well, World War II, I think, was maybe no. If you notice, there's a lot more sight. I mean, people do say there were sightings before World War II, and I know there's even been Native American sightings, but they seem to really have gone up since World War II. So my part of my hypothesis is that dropping the nuclear weapons, well, the Holocaust, and as well as dropping the nuclear weapons on Japan, kind of sent out a shockwave into the rest of the world. Maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's physical or psychic or both.
Well, maybe it's like multiple dimensions. So I said this in the space not long ago, maybe if we set off a nuclear, that energy blast, that wave of energy might affect other dimensions. That's why they showed such interest in us after we started doing that. And also, maybe they're already on Earth, so if they know we've got nukes, that puts them at danger. Do you know what I mean? And I always wonder about some of the nuclear tests that America's done. Maybe they weren't always tests. Maybe they were just blasting something they found out of the ground that they didn't like at the time. Do you know what I mean? I've always wondered about, so there's been a sudden nuclear test, but maybe they were destroying something that they discovered.
Yeah, it's interesting why the tests had to be as extreme as they were. I mean, if you're familiar with the test in that the Russians did in the island there, that in the Arctic, I mean, that was much bigger than the nuclear weapons in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So,
are you talking about the Tsar Bomba?
Yeah, Bomba. Yeah. That seems like why did they do that? It's a little bit overwhelming. Yeah, why are they doing so many tests in the first place? Yeah. What do you think, Lizard? What's your take on it? What do you think of my idea? Do you think it's more likely that they're extraterrestrials and spaceships? That sort of, I mean, they could still be intervening in that case, or are
I think
they?
it's a combination of everything. So it's not one or the other. I think, and there's civilizations that are on Earth. There's probably civilizations that were here before us, and I think there's 100% civilizations that are visiting us. I think it's a full spectrum. It's why we see such a variation in all the different phenomena and different craft. There's different models, you know what I mean? They're developing different civilizations, so they'll put their own spin on it. And I think what some of the stuff we see up there is our own tech, either that's recovered or something we've created. I think it's the full spectrum for me. I don't think you just point it to being one thing. I think it's a bit of a mix of everything. I think this planet's a bit of a garden world, so I think it's very interesting for a lot of people.
Yeah, and we're definitely at a pivotal time in our history. I think that's without a doubt that we're sort of in our adolescence as a species, and we could go one way or the other. Yeah, and if there are, I mean, other species, they see us with these nuclear weapons and our warlike nature. Yeah, we do represent a threat to them. And there's, they do have reason to defend themselves in a certain way to ensure that that we evolve in a positive direction, so we're not so much of a threat to them. And of course, there could be other. Well, I mean, it's other out there that's just like, well, they're we're competition to them. Maybe the um, more negative species. We represent competition, and that's why people
Well,
sometimes
maybe competition, what we may become in the future. Maybe not now, but
yeah,
maybe humanity when it's out in the stars, if we carry on doing the behaviors on Earth that we do out there. Because we like to expand like a bloody slime mold. So it wouldn't surprise me if we expand out and do that. If we don't adjust our behaviors, carry on doing the same shit we do here. You have to look
yeah,
what we did to, like, when we went to other countries, like, I don't know, like, I don't want to say America, but when the people used to first land in America, they just took over the native peoples. I think we'd do that in space unless we change our ways. It's just the way we are, I think.
I would
yeah.
volunteer that the question was asked earlier about free will, that the human animal is a particularly well-tuned free will machine. At level across the
You're breaking up, Mike.
turned towards high level.
You have no free will, Mike. You're breaking up.
Man, is my AI glitching again? That's all right. I'll let those put them on ice for now. What are you guys talking about?
Humanity and aliens and how we're going to survive.
Survive what?
Just how we behave if we got off this planet, stuff like that, and whether we're alone. Standard UFO spaces stuff, really, mate.
Where would you want to go off this planet? There's not a lot of options you could go to.
Well, they say there's a lot of these exoplanets, so I just think humanity would. I don't know. Are you not curious what to see what would be out there? Because I would be. Earth's where we're from, but I'd still want to see what was around, what's in the box. That's why like mystery box stuff is always so interesting to everyone, because everyone wants to know what's in the fucking box. It's just that I think humanity's just made that way.
I would volunteer that when you look at how little space we occupy on the surface of the planet, we could all flock underground for a while. We could all flock onto arc ships for a while, do a relativistic journey out and back, and let Earth recover and heal, and hope that no new species evolved in our absence. Maybe that's what happened, and we're that new.
Maybe that's what they do. It's not a bad shout, that, Mike, to be fair. Maybe the Earth does get damaged and they just disappear and come back when it's recovered. You only have to look at what happened during lockdown in the UK. Loads of nature started appearing and deers were visiting cities that had never been seen. It was just like, that was just for a couple of days of reduced traffic on the roads. Imagine a couple of 1,000 years of that. Be insane, the wildlife. And Chernobyl as well. If you ever look at Chernobyl with them big wolves and nature that just came back, even though the place is highly irradiated, nature always finds a way, as that dinosaur guy says.
So they come back and they say, darn, these humans have even more free will than us. What are we going to do now?
All right, Taylor, you okay, mate?
There's a little bit of jealousy, perhaps, from these alien races. They look at us with a little bit of, oh, that's what God had in mind, isn't it? Darn. Why couldn't we be that?
I highly doubt that. What makes you say that?
Yeah, I don't know about that. But I would say if I'm right and I only like communicate with two species because, well, and probably just because they're like really, really telepathic.
You're breaking up a little there, Taylor, and I really want to hear it.
Hello?
Yeah, I think Taylor, you need to drop down. We'll invite you back to speaker, or Logan or or Liz.
Why? What's wrong with him?
I can't hear him. Maybe I need to drop.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Okay. So the ancient species I've been in contact with are like really telepathic and really benevolent and like really nice and everything. And I mean, if I understand it correctly, they're really powerful and like really, really vast in number. And it's like there's no, and they're not bad. So it's like if there was like really bad stuff happening, I'm getting off topic. The point is, there are other worlds, I believe. And I have absolutely no basis for this other than like psychic visions. But I believe there are other worlds inhabited right now that are, that like maybe we can visit like by a portal or something one day. I'm thinking that the future is going to be faster than we think. And I think that things like portal tech will actually like be within our lifetimes, guys. I'm 41. And so I think that, we ought to start considering that there are other advanced species out there, yeah, and like they already have this technology and they'll like share it with us. And we can go visit other places in the galaxy. And I'm with you, Lizard. I want to see these other places that,
Yeah,
I mean, we've seen all of Earth.
But in our brief little 80 years, what's the likelihood of getting to another planet to see it?
Well,
I know, but
in
you
a
just thinking
time of
from a
we're
primitive point of view on tech, mate. If tech gets better, if you can, like, if there's a way, like Taylor says, of going through a portal to get somewhere, the distance is irrelative if it's a point from A to B, if there's no distance. I mean, if it's a wormhole that just connects you straight away, then that 80-year journey is instantaneous.
Well, and I go by that, like the biblical terminology is eternal life. Well, I think that like the human body is capable of keeping itself alive a lot longer than we know yet. And that whole we only use 10% of our potential by the time we die. I think as we learn to use more of our potential, we'll learn how to like reverse our own aging by thought alone and stuff. And I don't see how, I mean, without something like being able to live forever, eternal life, how would you see the whole universe? I want to see the whole thing if I can before I die. And like 90 years is just not long enough.
I like how you upped mine by 10 years.
We have longevity in my family.
He's got good genes, Taylor. That's because he's got such a peaceful background noise that he lives an extra 10 years. I love when he comes on because all I can hear is them insects or tweeting birds or bells. It's so relaxing.
My grandmother
Welcome
spent
to
a lot
Oklahoma,
of
sir.
time in nature and just turned 100. But quick question about portals. Okay, so I mean, I'm familiar with the Einstein-Rosen bridge, and okay, so conceptually, I mean, I don't completely understand it, but okay, so you've got the theoretical.
I was
But let's say
channeling some stuff the other day if y'all just want to hear something random. And it's like,
Can you
all this
hear
stuff
humanity, Taylor?
It's like I just keep trying to like give to someone else. I'm like, I don't want this. This is political. Get it the fuck away from me. But it is like little things like I know now that like galactic government is set up as like there's like a 12 tribunal system, and under that it gets really complicated. But above the 12 tribunals is like the Council of Nine, which is 3 in 3 dimensions. And it's just like, it's the craziest thing. It's all so democratic. I was like really surprised that this all goes to a vote. Like if a major decision in the universe has to be made, it is always like has to come to a vote between at least 3, but up to 9 individuals. It's crazy. So that they can never be like completely hung.
I brought you back up, Humanity. I think I don't think Taylor could hear you, so hopefully it works now.
Yeah, I wasn't sure exactly what he was saying, but I was saying that the portal, right? So it's sort of like a bridge to somewhere else in the universe. That is a technology. So it seems to me that one would have to install some type of technological infrastructure on both ends of that. So to set up a portal to, say, Andromeda, they initially have to go to Andromeda to kind of set up the other end of the portal.
Well, and there's another, I'll just say, there's another species, the Andromedans, who have already been here. So it's like they would have the technology. And it's like, it's in like ancient history. If you look at all of our like ancient sites and everything, they're coming back. They've been here before.
Well, Andromeda is a galaxy bigger than ours, so there's probably millions of species in Andromeda itself, I would
And
imagine.
in Sirius, yeah.
I will momentarily throw up some screenshots of the Ansible device, which is a recurring sci-fi.
Yeah, there's like Andromedans, Cygnans, Sirians, Arcturians, Pleiadians.
There's someone, I haven't looked into this. I just found out about it the other day, but there's someone named Eric Decker who worked in Antarctica, and he claims that there's a device there that is being used as maybe one end of a portal or to communicate with other parts of somewhere else in the universe. Does anybody know about this? He seems pretty legit, but then again, it could be disinformation.
It wouldn't surprise me if we already had that kind of technology here.
That's what he's claiming, and that brings up my other question: does anyone have anyone? Is there anyone they think like a name out there who really has their finger on what's actually going on, or is everyone a bit compromised? I mean, definitely Tom DeLonge seems a bit compromised to me, and a lot of people saying Grush is compromised. But is there someone out there? Some people think Greer maybe isn't. Maybe he's. But then other people say he has mistakes too. Is there
I think
anyone?
I think they're all compromised a little bit, but I think you just have to take a little bit from every one of them, and then you build an overall picture. Because nobody's
Greer
perfect.
looks like an alien.
Yeah, I do.
Greer looks like an alien. Well, a lot of people said Elon Musk is part alien.
He's Arcturian.
What do you think? You think he's part Arcturian? Can you say more about that?
I think he's Arcturian. Yeah, I think that it's funny. Like Arcturian is where the whole Arthurian legend comes from. So Arcturus with a different accent is Arthurus. Arcturian is Arthurian. So King Arthur came from Arcturus, right? And if that story is true and like Merlin was a real thing, think of him as Merlon. Like that's like the reincarnation.
Oh, this is good. I like this stuff.
It sounds a lot like star seeds and theories about that kind of thing. I don't know if you know, familiar with that.
I can't hear lizard.
Yeah.
So I had to just drop and come back. Wave your hand at Lizard when you're back to get his attention. Or Logan. It might have been Logan. I want to credit the right person.
For what?
Oh, when you have to drop and come back because people can't hear you, it's a pain in the butt. But it's pretty reliable so long as we can get a host or a co-host's attention.
What do people think of Jack Sarfati?
He's a lunatic, total asshole, and I'm trying to get him in here pretty soon. So fingers crossed.
He is kind of an asshole, isn't he? He refers to himself in the third person and thinks that he's smarter than everybody else, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would say there's a lot of opportunity for profiteering. That's probably the number one point to make around who might have the whole picture, who has a partial picture, who's misleading, who's not. Just follow the profit incentive or control. Either will do.
Well, right now we have the big story, I think, is these politicians, big name politicians, who are now playing like trying to be the good guys and playing like, oh, we're gonna let you know, we're gonna tell you the truth, trying to be like us, right? They're Marco Rubio and oh, we're gonna get to the bottom of this, and Gillibrand. I don't know. I really don't trust. I really don't trust Gillibrand. I don't think I trust any of the politicians, but I don't know.
But
Some of
on the record as being on the right side of the argument, though. That's all I wanted to interject. You continue. I just want to say that's just them getting a check mark on the record.
right. When more disclosure happens in the future, they could say they were ahead of the curve.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. So, what do people think about that? I mean, this is a really. I mean, what do people think is going to happen? I know there's going to be some meetings in the very near future. I mean, is it going to be
I think it'll be
smoked?
slow breadcrumb style, and like by the time disclosure happens, we will all be prepared and ready and happy, and by the time the mothership lands, we'll be glad, man. We'll be expecting it.
That is the conclusion without fire.
Well, one other interpretation is that's being discussed by dark journalists and some other people is that this is like a prep for the fake alien invasion, and they do believe, um, like we do. I mean, they do believe in all these that something's going on. It's not they're not skeptics, but they're saying that it's being used for fear. So just kind of in a similar way that we've had excuses for war in the past, like hyping up the threat of Islamic radicals. Okay, so put more money into the military budget, or communism, put more money into the. So the new way the military is going to get money is the threat of an alien invasion, and that's what this is. That's what we're seeing. What do people think about that idea?
If I may, that is Project Blue Light you described. Watch the
Yeah,
Y file on it if you want a good catching up on Project Blue Light, and it is very plausible. Everything you just said is 100% plausible, but I would volunteer that the aliens would take Project Blue Light as an opportunity to make reality merge with fake.
that's exactly what was said on Dark Journalist. Actually, believe it or not, they said that exact last night. Um, Joseph Farrell, I believe. Yeah, they said if they tried to do it, they would be like, "Hey, we're here." Sort of
The
like
alien
their covers blown type
eyes.
thing.
Yeah, the alien jump out and yell surprise. You guys are prepared, so we might as well use that as much as your conniving government.
Well, that would be really interesting if something like that happened. Oh my gosh, that would be. I mean, and then the other thing is they're saying, oh well, disclosure is, if disclosure happens, people are gonna riot in the streets, and they're not gonna, their religion's gonna be all in question, and
Well,
um,
they're
I,
basing that's what they're basing the current activity on, because there's no new good information better than the 1938 reading of The War of the Worlds by Orson Welles, written by H.G. Wells. This is the bar by which they're measuring audience reaction.
yeah, and I think that's really out of date. I think
There were
people's
2
religious
suicides over
ideas
that.
have changed a lot since then. I think people just really have a different take on it. And then when Rush came out, nobody really cared. I mean, it was almost the opposite of that. It was almost like crickets, except for us and um,
So
people who have been
Project
following.
successful. What we're saying is that Project Blue Light is rushing on disclosure. It's speeding up the timelines.
And so, when I think of Project Blue Light, I think of what I've heard about it is like using holograms to, create something in the sky, sort of like a fake spiritual thing. Um,
So what is truth? It must be mind control. Oh, I got it.
That's serious, man. Don't not mind control. That's like serious shit.
Yeah. I've got 2 for you. There's 2 conspiracy theories about the moon, both that we've never been there and that they found aliens parked out in a parking lot watching as the monkeys landed. So these are 2 great theories rolled up in one. Can I believe both simultaneously, please? Because I love them both. They're just such great stories. Stanley Kubrick directed it, by the way.
yeah, there's also the conspiracy theory that people are going to the moon, and there's secret bases on the moon, and people at high security clearances are already working there, and that's a conspiracy. Well, I hate the term, but that's what some people think.
Yeah. So what I love about this is that this is science. Experiments can be designed and carried out. These are falsifiable theories, which is the beautiful thing. So as drone technology gets better, we'll be flying them into these places in, like, I don't know, the Grand Canyon and other places where there's supposed to be sites, which will get you black helicoptered if you go. You can just drive your stealth drones in and figure it all out. How long before a civilian is going to be able to fly a drone to the moon? Elon could already do it today.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like I think we've already got the technology. Like, okay, in that Gaia show, Deep Space, season 3, episode 1, they talk about all the different forms of like anti-grav devices that they actually have the science for, but nobody is like funding the construction of. And it's all possible. It's all doable. The math, the architecture, the engineering is there. Just nobody is taking it seriously yet. And
Yes, my
yeah, and I think
is
we'll have
that
vehicles soon, sooner than you might think. To that, like we can like go up to the moon and back in a day. You know.
Yep, 100%. I couldn't agree more. I think we've had the basis for that since the 1950s. The H bomb brought about the era of super science, and it was backed up by computers that we got from the code breakers from the UK. Got combined later with the digital stuff going on in the US, and a amplification chamber was created that brought about our first AIs a bit sooner than we thought. And so AI has been a factor in all of this for a lot longer than we thought. And there is one of the more conservative explanations, another aliens not required explanation, because what would today's capabilities of such a born in the 50s AI today actually be, especially if there isn't a technology acceleration curve like we talk about with today's AIs? It could be really wacky how much might really exist today.
I believe that all these advanced societies, like, actually were exactly as we are today at one point in their history. Sorry, Kristen.
Yeah, go ahead, Kristen. Both of us just got our little blurts out.
I got a question. And I started thinking about this when I was making breakfast. How do aliens eat? Like, serious, real question. Like, how do they consume food, or do they consume food? And
Same
I
as
was
us.
just wondering. Okay, oh, same as us. Okay, well, I didn't know. Had no clue.
Hi or not.
They eat in circles.
Yeah. So first, there's a variety of life forms. Just look at the variety on Earth. So when you say eat, that is pretty open-ended. Then you also have to consider some of them might be machine-based.
Some of them are open-ended circles. You're right.
I think as far as though bearing children, I think there may be like aquatic, like fish. Maybe they like lay eggs and then the sperm is laid out and then it's outside of the body is
There may
how
be
they
species who do
inseminate.
that. Yeah. But I think that on the whole, humanoid species are sexual creatures. I mean, yeah, they would have to be humanoid.
And we've never seen any external organs, genitals.
I would also add that whether they can eat each other, whether they are protein sources for each other, depends on whether the proteins are left-handed or right-handed. There's been a lot of sci-fi writing about this stuff.
Are we aliens?
That makes me ask another question, because Mike brought this up. Okay, so does that mean, because there's always all kinds of folklore of people who are left-handed are evil, allegedly. Okay, I'm using this term very loosely. So there was a huge belief for a super long time to force people to write with their right hand because the families were very superstitious about it. So if there is something to that, um, does that mean that left-handed people are partly alien? That would make me wonder.
I think so. I think we're all alien because they put a lien on us.
Oh, that's interesting.
This is planned extraterrestrial planet. They planned it out.
Okay, I will respond to Matthew on that. I do have a theory that once a species becomes viable on a planet, like maybe Homo erectus, now the local interested parties, because it's a good planet, and they all do kind of be like Prime Directive, yeah, whatever. And then they place their bets on what directions this species is going to evolve. And once bets are placed, interference and cheating is going to occur. So most aliens being here, events are the naughty aliens who are breaking treaties and stuff. They're a little bit mischievous, which explains a lot. They already have that little bit of, hey, look at me, I'm doing a bad thing, lean to them. So they're going to mess with us every way they can, so long as they can get away with it and still win their bets.
We all have three foreign alien DNA strands inside of us that scientists cannot explain where they came from. So that is alien. It doesn't mean it's ET, but it is alien.
So the odds of alien interference with our very own development of our genetic code is a strong probability, at least.
Exactly. They may have implanted that.
I agree with Randy's stance. I'm so sorry for replying a little bit late. I actually was chewing on a bagel, and I didn't want to talk with a mouthful. So if so, if we are all a little bit alien, which I do believe that that's true, and as I said before, Dmitry Kushner's book about Slavic faith pretty much insinuates that we are. Here's another question that came to my mind yesterday. And I'm not discrediting it or discounting experiencers. I believe what happened to y'all really did happen. So if we're all a little bit alien, is what happens to during the induction? Are they trying to make a different type of hybrid, or is it like we're a little bit alien from a particular species and then another species is trying to crossbreed with us? Like, I'm trying to understand. That's all.
I would say that the number one priority is so that we don't become something that is antithetical to their existence. I think that
I agree.
Survival.
It's to benefit them.
Yeah, they would like some good neighbors and are going to be sure that the new neighbors in the neighborhood are good ones. So
it's like a good fence between two neighbors.
Yeah, us becoming greedy aliens is a distinct possibility. The greedy aliens conversation in the public, discourse recently has been very timely because humans had to come to grips with the fact that we portray a lot of greedy alien traits.
So with that thought in mind, consider we have Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin, we have SpaceX from Elon Musk, we have Richard Branson's stuff, and there was one other one that are private in regard to. Go ahead.
I was saying, why is it also sexual? You have SpaceX, you have Blue Orgies, and you have what? Virgins?
I'm labeling names of companies that are owned by very wealthy people who are funding.
I know. I'm saying, why is it so sexual? Like, weird.
I don't know. I have no idea why it's called that way. Circling back to my question, though, if we're already greedy, which I think we are, I guess Mike is right. They're trying to make sure that we're not going to be dominant of them or try to, in a way, control their existence, and they want to be the top dog on command. That's the way I understand that. And I'm going to put myself on mute because I would like to finish eating my bagel.
I've always kind of thought it was a way so they can influence or maybe control us a little bit or tap into mind control. It's like they slipped us something, so it's like they have a way, like a way to get into a computer. You have a backdoor way. This is their back door. So they put these 3 strands into us, so they don't have to come into the front door and knock or ring the doorbell and say, "Oh, may I come in?" They put this, so this is their way to access us, and so we are their, excuse my word, but we're their little bitch.
And this gets into the morals and ethics discussion surrounding those who are already cheaters. We know that these aliens who are messing with us do not represent their mainstream, who are going to be more like hands off and from afar, watching how their bet plays out, ready to do SmackDown, right? Because the alternative to messing with us is to have the SmackDown cops at the ready to smack down greedy aliens. And that has happened.
They didn't place it to benefit our health or mental state, that's for sure.
And they would claim necessary evil. You don't want to be smacked down like greedy aliens. You'll be thanking us later, serving us our hors d'oeuvres, but thanking us while you do.
Question: do you think any of these private companies, such as like Blue Origin, Richard Branson's Virgin, and Elon Musk's SpaceX, have actually seen UFOs, considering they use their space shuttles to load out satellites? So I would just wonder, while they're placing
All right,
a satellite, would they see them?
All
Do
right.
they let their load out?
Yes.
See what I'm
So what
saying?
happens? They load them on the satellite onto a space shuttle. Then they, of course, fire it off. And then once they reach whatever level of orbit they want the satellite to be deployed, and they deploy it, and then, of course, return. But it was just the fact of, okay, if has been ongoing, which those are the main three or four companies that do that kind of service, and to where we can have the capabilities that we have in regard to satellites. I just wondered what would be the off chance that they saw UFOs in the process of doing that routine task.
I have two astronaut friends. One was an Apollo, another later, and they both have seen crafts that they can't publicly speak on. They were silenced and had to sign no disclosures, but they have seen things in space that they couldn't explain, and both felt they were alien crafts. Just wild that they were being viewed by these crafts when they were in space, and they were frightened. They were frightened for their lives.
All right. So we draw a picture where humans have a balance to their senses. In the pre-technology age, it's just what our bodies have in terms of senses. Once technology comes here, you have things like radar. Radar is going to let you capture things and inspect them like you couldn't before, so stuff is going to be seen. Same can be said for photography. I see Matthew's hands going up. So each time humanity's sensory equipment get expanded, we have more UFO encounters, and then they suddenly drop off because they get tuned into us having this new sensitivity. So they talk and they figure out their new rules of engagement, and then, we're all crazies again, unless we're the astronaut or the radar operator.
Go, Matthew.
Yeah, so a good exercise to that point is like try to think of a primary color that doesn't exist. So make up a primary color. You thinking about it? You got
Yes.
that color in your head?
Yes, I do.
You see the limits of our thoughts?
Yeah, I don't. I'm going to fess up. I can't see another.
You can't see it because we only know what we know from our experience. That's how limited we are in our thoughts.
Magenta and cyan popped into mind. There's a color we can't see. I think it's magenta, where the color wheel of our cones and rods loop around and our brain fills it in.
Sorry, I had to step you down, Mike. Yeah. If you can't imagine that primary color, but you just can't hang out with us, bro.
Yeah, purple is not real. Purple is an illusion. Violet is real. Violet is a real color of the electromagnetic spectrum.
So is yellow.
But purple is when the receptors for red and the receptors for blue fire at the same time. So purple does not actually exist in nature. It's an illusion.
That's why it's royalty.
Hey guys, GM. And some cultures can't even see certain colors if they don't know that they exist and named.
Oh, and cats can't even see snow.
Matthew, I just gave you a follow, man. I love bulldogs. I had an English bulldog, man. And actually, a sad story. Someone had broken our house and they had thrown some poisoned meat in our backyard and taken out our dog before they broke into our house. They found keys in my pickup and it had a
Don't
house key
tell
in it.
those stories on
No,
Spaces.
I'm just saying. No, I'm not mean. I'm sorry, Brooklyn,
It's okay.
no,
It just ruins my whole freaking day when I hear sad stuff like that.
it's a beautiful. She was a beautiful dog, great with our kids. Bridget, she was a beautiful bulldog, and I saw on your profile you had a bulldog, so I gave you a follow, Matthew.
Yeah, Matthew, you better give him a follow back pretty soon, or he's gonna remote view your ass in the shower.
Logan knows me too well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the funny thing, Logan, about that Evander story is my wife actually said, "Oh, that's Evander." I said, "No, it's not." And he like only was like 5'8". It's like he didn't seem to be this big man. It's like Vander's bigger than that. So that's why I followed him in the bathroom. And then I noticed like he's got a piece of his ear missing. And shit, that is Vander, man. And it's like, oh God, he had the bite from. I was like, oh shit, that is a Vander, man. It's like, but you know, people we think they're bigger than life, and so when we see him in real life, it's like, well, he's just like a normal person, you know. And it's like, he's not. He was shorter than me. He didn't look huge. It's like, but I had to follow him because, like, in the crowd of people, you kind of get lost. So it's like it was just kind of funny. He had a piece of his ear missing. Tyson bite.
Give me another deep exercise like that prime color one. I want a chance to redeem myself.
You're gonna have to be dropped down. No second chances.
Well, like yellow is a real color that comes from like a mustard plant. There's certain real colors.
I'm a physics teacher. So the other interesting thing that I mentioned regarding color is there's a difference between the color as a region of the electromagnetic spectrum. That's a physical thing, but there's no way of knowing that we share the same perception of any of the colors. So we both might point to a wall and agree that the wall is green, but I have no way of knowing that the way you perceive green is the way that I perceive green. So we both agree that it's green, but maybe green in my head is red in your head and vice versa. We have no way of knowing that because that's an aspect of consciousness. So it's kind of getting at the difference between physical reality and consciousness. They're two different things. The perception of something is not the same as the thing itself.
So is that kind of like hot and cold when you're like a kid sticks their hand in the snow? My hand is burning. No, it's not burning. It's actually just cold. In our brain, our perception, in our own mental state, we get confused of. It's like how we see things.
Kind of. I think a little bit different. What I'm getting at, there's like an objective reality, right? So the wall's green. It's absorbing everything but the photons that have a green frequency. They're getting reflected, right? But in our minds, we have no way of knowing that we share the same perception of green. So like what you perceive as green could be what I perceive as red or something like that. Or maybe it's the same. Maybe we both perceive it the same way. We have no way of knowing because we cannot see into someone else's head.
But can't
So,
we assume we're using the same equipment?
well, we both agree that it's green, and if we use the same equipment.
Yeah, but like as long as we don't have like any type of like color blindness or anything, our rods and cones should be the same shape, and you know the wavelengths are the same length, right? So we should see the same colors unless our equipment is altered, right? Or like unless you're an animal and your pupils are different sizes or something, then you might be seeing different colors, right?
But what I'm talking about more is like the mental image, right? How could you prove that what perceive as green is the same as what I perceive as green? There's no way of proving it. There's no way of, like, in your mind, what's green in your mind could be red in my mind or any other color. And there's no way of knowing it because it's a perception. It's an aspect.
A mental picture. I got you. Yeah, that makes sense.
This is actually one of the biggest mysteries in philosophy. Philosophies call it qualia. Like, what is consciousness? What is perception? We don't really know what it is.
Yeah, no, I can get down with that. That's why I like the UAP stuff so much, because it seems to be a reflection of what people believe, right?
Yeah, it is definitely related to the UAP stuff, right? Because we perceive, well, the people's perceptions are very, very different, right? There's all different takes on what it is, and some people just reject the whole thing, say the whole thing is crap, which I think is kind of ridiculous. But then other people are like, I know that it's this, that's the way it is. And if you're not like Jack Sarfati, and if you don't think what I think, you're wrong. And like, it's kind of got to be somewhere in the middle. I think no one person is right. I like what.
Oh, come on, Sarfati's always right, man.
Well, he's definitely smart, but he's kind of an asshole. What do you think of Sarfati?
Yeah, I could see why people would say that. He's hilarious. I'll put like some long complex thing, and he'll just be like, no, and that's it. He doesn't elaborate nothing. He just moves on.
Yeah, I'll be like, yeah, it's a snow job. It's a bunch of bullshit. But he's probably right. Like a lot of the ideas in physics, there's just so many ideas in physics that people come up with. They can't all be right. So probably a lot of them are just a big bunch of bullshit. What we're supposed to be doing is experiments to distinguish, but physics has become so abstract, it's very, very hard to do any experiments. So physics itself has kind of gone from being an experimental science. It started out as an experimental science, and now it's becoming more of a mathematical abstraction. So you can come reality or not. Because the experimental side is.
I'm still here. We're all. I'm taking
really
you guys with me to go walk the ducks.
Like it used to. Physics progress. It's not really progressing like it used to. By used to, I mean like quantum mechanics the main ideas in quantum mechanics were all developed about 100 or more years ago, and since then we really haven't had any major breakthroughs. But I think that the next breakthrough will have something to do with consciousness and incorporating consciousness together with physics.
Yeah, it's going to be like almost like the ET tech, and the fact that it's going to be a spiritual technology, right? Or maybe something we control through psi. But I see Official got your hand up. What's up, bro? Welcome to the space.
Yes, sir. I'm rolling a blunt right now. Give me 1 second.
Hell yeah, that sounds like a great idea, actually.
Shane, with my involvement in
I mean,
racing.
fuck it. I can multitask, right? So, I was listening to the beginning part of the conversation. You know what I'm saying? Man, there's like, there's like different spectrums of, different like frequencies of things that you can, perceive, or observe. And you want to talk about like even like, man, how do I say this? Like, you see here, it's just it's simple, but it's complex as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, fuck, bro, it's too early, man. Let me roll this blunt, man, because I can explain it.
Damn, I thought you were multitasking,
For example, there's like 7 different like worlds within this world. You know what I'm saying? But the people who are gonna perceive those worlds are gonna perceive and see and interact with those worlds. You feel me? Like, there's literally like it's carbon footprints of shit that you're not even seeing because they're just on a different frequency or a different spectrum. I feel like everything that ever was is everywhere. You know what I mean? Every like Jupiter, Mercury, Saturn is like a 2 steps away through the right stargate or a portal. You know what I'm saying? And what else, man? I feel like Earth is a submersible that's floating in water, which is essentially space. Like, everything is water, in just different states. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, man, we're in the age of Aquarius again, water. You know what I mean? And the information and knowledge is, in the Akashic records is wide open for you to access. You just, we just gotta like know the right methods and disattach ourselves completely, and really unlearn, relearn, decondition yourself. You know what I mean? I recommend the left-hand path and the apotheosis to everyone to really get an immediate, direct breakthrough through this, like, this ego, and this physical enslavement, feeling like, just, you're bound by society's normative values and traditional custom ways. Fuck that shit. You need the rebel spirit right now, it's like, to denounce everything in the world, because everything in the world is set up to lead you astray, essentially. You know what I mean? You got to have discernment and pick what best, fits in your toolkit and make it happen, make it rock. Because, I mean, fucking hell. I mean, the enemy you know is better than the enemy you don't know. And me, I mean, I never knew what a solipsist was until someone told me I sound like a solipsist. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Solipsist is someone who doesn't believe anything to that. The only thing I know to be true and real is my own consciousness, and my senses and my, like, just everything else is allegedly. You know what I'm saying? There's half of the things that I there's like this. I can't believe 50% of the things I see and nothing I hear. So, you know what I mean? That's it. That's my first go around with my spaceship. We dock it outside the exosphere.
I agree with you 100%. Humanity, speaking about physics, I get frustrated. People don't seem to understand physics. Screen. It's like, my involvement in racing and stuff. It's like, when speed doubles, inertia quadruples. And like, that's the thing about going fast on highways and stuff. That's why they lowered speed down to 55. It's like, and a lot of people don't understand that. They try to argue with me. I said, no, yeah, from 50 to 100, the inertia goes, 400%, and they try to argue that, no, this is physics. And a lot of people just don't understand physics and science. And I don't think we teach this well enough in American schools.
Yeah, I don't think we teach a lot of stuff the right way. It's like when I started looking at nature for answers, and like nature's an everything teacher. If you're an audio learner, a visual learner, like it doesn't matter. Nature's got it all for you, right? And once you understand it, like how nature does it, you like understand it the most efficient, simplest form, and then you can like extrapolate that to everything else. That's how they should be teaching us, right? Like it's so much easier and so much like more interesting that way, right? Rather than like, oh, here's the stuff, just memorize it. Like if you learn, uh, like Paul Wallace talks about how the like Dogon people learned a dance from these beings that came to shore to learn how to fish and stuff like that. And so that's why he claims they're aliens because of the way they skipped in the dance and all this BS. And it's like, no, bro, that's how they taught people
You're exactly right, though.
spoke
It's not
different
what you learn
languages
in the
and stuff,
classroom.
you know? What'd you say?
You learn outside the classroom.
Yeah, exactly, right. And then it transcends like more than one language. So it's like that's what stories were for, that's what dances were for. Like that's where we get traditions from, and we call them traditions and we forget that they were instructions, that it was knowledge, right? Like all that stuff gets lost in translation.
We forget that, it's like what we can learn outside the classroom. It's like you want to learn about gravity, watch a stream. Look what happens to boulders. They turn into stones. Those stones turn into pebbles. Those pebbles turn into sand, which turns into mud, and then it turns into clear water. And it's like, okay, that water is safe to drink. It's a filter.
Yep, all natural processes happening.
The steeper the slope, the faster the water. It's just like, okay, there's simple physics.
That's why I'm so like into like the control system aspect, or the like consciousness being reflected or mirrored back at us, because it's like how they would describe like flying ships. It's not like they were like, oh, there's flying metal ships in the sky. They would say it's like fucking wooden ships with sails, and like equivalent to what they can understand, but up in the sky, right? Like that doesn't make sense. But then you hear people talking like Zen, how he saw this thing that was like morphing into different things, right? Like it looked like a bag, and then it looked like something else. And you hear people talking about, yeah, I saw this blob morph into a plane, and so it's like it makes you wonder, right? Like look what happens if you start staring into the mirror for a long time. That's
You start to see different
consciousness
faces.
reflected, right?
Yeah, I used to every now and then I'll just practice like staring at myself in the mirror for like but like from like a different like lens. Like I always used to like just play like with my vision like as a kid, just like staring like far off in the shit and like zooming in, zooming out, and like making like doubles or triples or something, even people. I would just like see if I could see them. Like I don't know why I was doing it, but I think when I got an adult, just got into astral travel and lucid dreaming, I would use like I was sun gaze, moon gaze, and star gaze. At certain times when it's best to do it. And yeah, there's just some interesting things that takes place. The more you stare, at something, and it's like it knows it's being observed, and then it may interact with you or something. It's just very, very, very interesting. But just the same way we're observing something out there, it's just something must have to observe us as well, which would mean they have to see our end, which kind of yeah. Allegedly. And what else? Yeah, man.
Screen, what you were just talking about with Zim, maybe that has a little bit with what humanity was talking about. Do you think maybe when you see like a craft, what he's talking about, do you think maybe that's kind of different for each other, how we perceive it? Maybe because I always heard about the craft that went through the Midwest. One police officer said, "Oh, it looks like a hotel, like it's a rectangle and it's 2 stories. It looks like there's a penthouse, and then the county the next over that office. Oh, it looks like a triangle, and it's like, but it was the same craft. They were like one police station to the next as it went from one county to the next, but they all described it looking different. So is that like their own mental state and their own perception? They're perceiving it. Were I seeing it differently? You know, official. I've done the same thing. So it's like, so it's like, or was the craft going into their mind and changing it? So it's just a strange thing.
I mean, there's technology like out there that you can like merge with, you know, especially if you like, you know, you can have, you know how like in that movie Avatar or whatever, like they stick their tail thing with the animals and then they like become one and, you know, fly together, move around together. It's just there's a way you could do that with the type of silica crystal based, you know, aircraft. You know what I mean? And kind of like as a conduit for because the crystals can work some magic, and you know, you can like connect to it. Where our bodies are liquid crystals. So if I'm an alien, you know, extraterrestrial, whatever, and I got advanced technology, ain't no telling them what the fuck I got. So, you know, I could have a whole a fleet out there just, you know, just chilling. You won't even know.
What kind of crystal magic?
I don't know, like some type of quartzite material, some type of quartzite, or maybe even some type of like different type, something like very sophisticated, more than copper, something that can be used like, you know, up there, like, or somewhere else in a different state. I mean, because it's just no joke, bro. This shit real. We're gonna get some red pills here, bro.
Yeah, explain it to everybody though. Like I know what you mean, but I doubt everybody else knows what you're talking about.
Screens aren't really
like bro, like you like to shape shift and be able to metamorph, or just like to like, you know, to disguise yourself, or just to like, you know, put on a cloak. You know, there's ways you can do that. You know, like, you know what I mean, that's through certain combinations, you know, and chemical, I guess, you know, combinings of like, you know, type of metalloids, you know, quartzite material. Yeah, I mean, it's like you can like really create a mirror and like just, you know, go under the radar. It's just now the other way I was talking about with the Avatar thing, that's like actually like, you know, intelligent beings being able to like, you know, like be one with their spacecraft, you know, and like you know what I mean, because when you go through a wormhole, like you and your spacecraft together goes through that wormhole. I mean, like you disintegrate for a few seconds and come back out. So it's like it has to be the perfect like aligned material. Man, maybe fucking hell. Star Trek? I wasn't a fan of Star Trek, but it just popped up in my head. Maybe Elon, you know, is trying to set us up like the type of Star Trek shit with the Neuralink. I don't know. You know, but then again, I feel like, you know, there's something they're trying to like subdue the human race and keep our celestial capabilities, you know, our DNA strands from activating, you know, through this evolvement era we're going through. Some dark entities that are at Bad Bay, you know, and so we just, it is what it is, man. It's gonna be some interesting times here coming up the next like few years.
You were just talking about crystals last night, Scream. You know, it's like I thought, oh, awesome, because like my son, he doesn't align with me about the power of crystals. I said, oh yes, they can store energy, and you were talking about how that crystal was able to power this whole facility, and I said yes, you know, because I know people that actually, you know, you love crystals and their distilleries and stuff, and he just like he doesn't get it, and I said yes. And you were talking about, so the synchronicity that official brought that up today. So beautiful.
Now, if I could chime in too as well, there's something that certain beings or humans with, I guess, a bloodline in particular of some, you know, they can do certain things, right? So my great grandfather, he was like he was my great grandfather on my mom's side, Mili Smidi. He was a voodoo priest in Haiti and like chief of the Tontomacoute boogeymen, the little private police for the dictators, and he was like one of the most feared men in Haiti during that time. But he was also like, you know, he was the son of a Senegalese, you know, voodoo priest guy who came from Senegal, my great grandfather. So, you know, he was like the first, I guess, Haitian American, like generation born, and he ended up being like the chief of the paramilitary for both dictators. But he was also like, you know, like a well-respected and venerated, priest of the craft. And there was a particular entity or spirit that he worked with, and my dad's uncle is the one who told me this story. And this spirit basically, like, they would go in the woods, and they would tie the person, who's working with the spirit, whatever. They would tie them like bound to a tree, hands and legs, and they would lay this material out in front of them, so they could and it's this material that you use to separate. I remember in being in Haiti, you use it to separate the coffee beans from like the skin, like in the sun, and it would like let it dry out, and you separate it from the skin, and it was something like that. It's not hay material, so it's something called apportation. And basically there's a bunch of like old ladies dressed in white, head to toe. They're drumming and singing like some like some foreign language shit. And then the spirit will come upon him, and basically a portal or some type of entry or exit way opens up at the bottom of the esophagus. It comes out and gags out raw material like gemstones, crystals, and gold. That's my dad's uncle told me this. He said because I was doing my family tree research and genealogy, and I was like, I was showing him all, how far I got, and he saw a name, and his eyes got wide as fuck, and he just started talking for the next hour, telling me about him. And he was like, yeah, man, he used to like throw up gold in the woods, but it's an apportation, and it comes out as like a liquid material, but when it oxidizes and hardens up on that right stuff, it hardens, comes up into a rock. That's an apportation. That's their apportations. If y'all want to see an example of that, there's a guy named Michael Shane Ray, I believe. He does like public, apportations for people, and will like deliver them like crystals or gemstones from ancestors or some shit. And I was actually like had RSVP to go see him, live in person, but like I had a family emergency. I had to drop out of fucking college, and I moved back to Baltimore. And then like the same day I got there, my uncle told me like about my great grandfather. I was about to go see someone do something live. That's something that my great grandfather used to do himself, and I was like, oh, yeah, but but I never got to see it anyways. Maybe it wasn't meant to be. But yeah, our body is liquid crystals, and we can use our body as a vessel to transport raw earth material. And but yeah, this deity though is allegedly like a demon leprechaun from Ireland who goes by Cernunnos or something like that, like the antler deity of the woods. And he goes by Gamboa, and Ates or Great Woods. That's deity or Orisha spirit, whatever. It comes from Ireland, and it's like a part of my family.
Yeah, that's some wild shit. I don't think it's actually apparition though, or apportation, whatever you want to
Apportations.
call it.
It's
Yeah,
transporting
I know
raw earth
exactly
material
what
from
you're
one place
talking
to
about.
another.
I'm just saying that is not what it is. Like for true apparition, you have to be broken down at the molecular level and put back
I didn't say
together. And
apparition. I said apportation. An apportation. An
yeah,
apportation
I got
is
you, bro. I got you.
just like
I know.
it happens.
Uh,
It's like he gags it out. Like it's like a portal that opens up.
Like I was trying to say, that's mainly like monatomic elements or transmuting some, elements of some sort. Like you're not actually breaking it down and like putting it back together like the beam does on Star Trek, right? Same thing with portals. Like if we do get to that technology, they won't be breaking us down and putting a copy of us somewhere else. We run into all kind of issues with that type of stuff. It'll be more or less you're separating the space around you and then you step through, right? So that's what I was saying. Like, they like whether you call it uh apparition or whatever, it's not, that's not technically true, right? Like because that's not what's actually going on there. Not saying that they're not coughing up blood or gold or crystals or whatever else the case may be that they've tested and stuff, but it's just not being broken down at the molecular level and coming from another dimension. And it's usually stuff that can be manipulated by plasma as well, or like ectoplasm, shit like that, right? Like you said, it might look white first, or it sounds an awful lot like ectoplasm, right?
Okay, so I have another question. I know everybody is kind of generally aware of the DARPA program that controls weather and stuff. Do you think that that machine came from alien technology? Because for years, like, they denied it and said, oh, no, 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 we don't have a weather machine. We can't make weather happen. But now it's all coming out in the wash that they can. So my question is, okay, did we get that type of technology from aliens in order to, like, reverse engineer it? Or I was just curious as to what y'all's thoughts about that.
Personally, I'm not sold on. Well, that's what's tough because when we get into terminology and stuff, you know, what do you mean? Like when we talk about alien technology, technology
Okay,
that
so
comes
alien
from these
technology,
gray
um,
people.
well, no, as in like what they have built for themselves. A lot of the programs that we fund initially when we came in contact and found craft was to re-engineer it by trying to figure out how is it made in order to recreate it for our own use. And so my thought process was, okay, what if that DARPA machine, being the weather machine, was actually a technology that we got from aliens, that we re-engineered it for our own use, and that they use it somewhere else in the galaxy, and we use it for whatever, I think, possibly nefarious reason, and to make force people to have droughts, force people to believe into climate change, and to make them adapt by forcing these situations. Like, there's people in Africa currently that are dying of starvation and hunger because of the fact that the drought has been so bad. There hasn't been rain in many, many seasons. Farmers are losing their farms. They're losing their livestock because they can't afford to feed them. There's not enough water to give them water, and people are legit dying. And it was, you know, and I wonder, okay, how much of this is man-made versus how much of this could be potentially alien technology that we used for man-made purposes? That's the main question. Is it something that we as humans created, or is it technology that was not necessarily of our own, but we made it for our own use? That's what I'm asking. Like, is the origin human or of that machine, or is the origin of that machine alien? I know I'm probably not making sense, and I do apologize for rambling. It came to me, and I thought I'd ask. And you guys are receptive enough to ask really weird questions like that. Okay, so in regard to craft, okay, so I off and on while studying, I was listening to this show on unclassified aliens, and right now I'm on the section about Soviet secrets. And according to what I was listening to, it said that the Soviets were aware of the TikTok craft in their own realm prior to the 2004 visual video that came about. And so it makes, as I said, it makes you wonder, okay, how much do the aliens actually have influence in our existence? I mean, in my previous question, of course, do they make their own weather patterns? Do they have the technology to do that? You know, that's I know that's kind of going into left field and completely way out there, but I don't think they wouldn't. I think they would have the ability to do so. And if we were getting that technology to make the DARPA machine from them and being able to influence weather patterns, changing how
everybody functions. It's making, and it goes back to even a more elaborate scheme of using weather patterns to make even worse countries that are already third world even in a more worse state, and making certain what I would call first world countries or second world countries in a more worsened state to create an influx that would favor those who are quote unquote greedy aliens, so to speak. Once again, very wild question, but that was just something I thought of, and I welcome being wrong. I welcome, you know, thinking that I'm crazy for thinking that. It's just, I don't know. I just don't understand the origin of that machine and why people would do what they do. That's the main thing. And I pass to the next speaker.
Yes, that's you, screen. JK.
Damn, and we lost Randy too, huh?
Hey, screen. Did you disagree with official?
No, I couldn't even fucking talk. Jesus Christ. Randy kept asking me a question, and he would start answering it. And then when I finally started to talk, he kept like talking over me. And I'm just like, bro, what the fuck? Jeez.
Oh man. He sent me a message. He said, "Your co-host is a dickhead and doesn't know what he's talking about."
Yeah, he's mad because I was clarifying to the audience that although he was calling the process of somebody coughing up or crying up gold or crystals apparition, that it's not actually getting broken down on a molecular level and coming from another dimension, which is what that is for people that don't know what the fuck he's talking about. And he wouldn't even let me get out one explanation, bro. Like, I'm a dickhead, but I'm supposed to let him roll his blunt, let the audience listen to him or not listen to him while he decides to roll his blunt. And then once Randy starts talking, he cuts him off and decides he wants to go. Like, bro, this isn't your space. Like, it's like, Jesus Christ. And then people get butthurt. And all I did was drop him down. It's not like I kicked him or nothing like that. It's like people can suck my dick. Like, I felt like we were waiting on this dude to eat a bowl of cereal. Like, while we were trying to buy weed from him early in the morning, right?
That's a
Like,
good idea.
people never say, like, how fucking hard is it? People never say, you know what? That was a weird interaction. Maybe it was something I did. Nobody ever asks that question except select few, and we know who you are because you're usually very empathetic and caring of other people. But people don't ask that question, right? I'm a dickhead now. Like, it is what it is. I'm used to being a dickhead.
Screen, I don't think that you're that. I think you're a wonderful person. I really do. And I love and appreciate everyone in this room. I may not always agree with you on statements, same with all of you, but I will always be listening and be receptive of what you do and what you say. And even if it's a differing opinion of my own, I'd rather you guys just state your truth. And, I appreciate and love you all as you are. So there you go.
Right, that's how it should be though. Right? Like, you don't Just because you don't like get along with somebody or just because you disagree with them, like now all of a sudden it's like, oh fuck them. But no, I appreciate it, but I am a dickhead though. I own it. But it's just because I'm blunt with people. Um, I don't like time is the one thing I can't give people back, so I don't try to waste it for people, you know. So I do come off as a dick a lot of times.
True. And, you know, I may not talk a lot during the day because I'm working, but I do often will rotate in the rooms that you guys go to because I enjoy your company while I'm working. And even when I'm studying, like the majority of yesterday, I couldn't get anything done work wise because I didn't have the permissions to get into the software that I needed. Um, so it was kind of a shit day. So I spent the majority of it studying and listening to you guys and listening also to some UFO channel thing. Well, actually, it was the it was not really even a show. It was the UFO unclassified series that's on Netflix, and I was just listening to have background music, or at least some kind of background noise, excuse me, and that's how I dealt with yesterday, and my hands still kind of cramped up from doing studying, and oh, I'm already ass deep in having to study on more shit, but that's okay. It'll all work out. I have all day today and I have all day tomorrow,
Take a breath.
so I'll be okay.
It's okay. I
I know.
can hear it's been piling up on you.
Well, okay, it's the last 10 weeks of the term, okay, and I have 3 classes to knock out. And the nice thing about my school is once you pass that test, you are done. There is no daily grades, there is no like discussion board stuff, there's no midterms. You don't have to physically be in a classroom. If you wanted to take an exam at midnight, you could take an exam at midnight. That's the nice thing about Western Governors University. Downside is they're Mormon, and the fact that it's competency based and you can't kiss somebody's ass in order to pass the class. And it's either you know it or you don't. And if you don't, you're just up shit creek without a paddle. And it's hard. Like I'm in the accelerated bachelor's and master's degree program that in for information technology. So I am getting my code on and learning my HTML and CSS, XML, and Bootstrap, in addition to the scripting and programming stuff and the IT foundations. What the IT foundations is actually more practical because that's what normal help desk workers, that when you call into a help desk and say my computer's broke, a lot of their strategies are in that textbook. So I'm kind of thrilled that at least I can say, okay, I can try to get a good crack at trying to fix this laptop before I can go to somebody and say, fix it. And I tried X, Y, and Z in advance. And yeah, you guys keep me company. So I may not talk a lot, but when I do, it's nice to be able to have that company and interaction. So I'll pass to the next speaker.
No, I feel that. I think a lot of us do that with spaces, and it's like kind of quells that FOMO, right? Like you can get your shit done and not feel like you're missing out on everything because you're taking everybody with you, right? And I'm the same way. I don't talk a whole lot, but when I do, I do. It just depends, like, you know, I have information on it or like I'm passionate about it or something. Otherwise, I typically just like listen to everybody.
I will admit on the subject of UFOs and UPA, I don't know jack crap. However, I do find it super interesting. and I do like learning from you guys, and I just am not well read enough to really honestly give a true intellectual debate, like such as, okay, did the Las Vegas sighting happen? Yes or no? Was it this or that kind of alien? I don't know. Was the craft real? I don't know. And I mean, I'm not well read enough to have that intellectual debate, and I'm willing to own that. And I'm not pretending to be something that I'm not. And on my level, I do believe, I just haven't seen. And I do believe the experiencers and what they have happened to them. I know that that's true. I'm not saying it's not. I just am not well read enough to really have an intellectual debate on it. And I'm not going to be some wannabe fake poser and pretend that I know. So I'm going to pass to Ken.
Okay, so I lost what Kristen was saying, so I'm gonna have to cycle you down and bring you right back up. And I see Kent has his hand up.
Yeah, hi guys. I've been out filming again, and yeah, no, I posted it on my own. I didn't post it on your Blue Pill, but crystal clear, freezing cold, no insects, and every time I take a picture or take a film, it looks like it's friggin' snowing. So I don't know. I'm still trying to work out what it is.
Interesting.
It's crazy, Screen. That sometimes they look like they're coming out the ground. Sometimes they look like they're coming out of the house. Sometimes they're directly overhead and going down. But it's just constant. I mean, it's fucking. If you have the time, I put a 90-second video there and 4 pictures. I'm going to post some more. But it makes no fucking sense. I mean, I'm not trying to be a dick. It makes no sense. It's crystal clear. I'm not having a cigarette. There's no smoke. You did see a bit of my breath. That's how cold it is. You saw my breath in one bit where I was breathing and the steam came out. But it's crystal clear. I was out looking at the stars because here in Perth, or you're down south here in Rockingham, it's really, really. You can see the Milky Way really, really clear. The star system's visibility here is beautiful, and it's crystal clear. And I'm trying to take pictures of the friggin' stars, and every time I do, it looks like it's fucking snowing. It's just crazy, mate.
Yeah, that's. I think you answered your own question. You could see your breath, right? So, for all we know,
No,
that's.
no. Look at the videos before you write it all off as my breath. Screen, come on, give some credibility, mate. I'm not a
Okay,
fucking.
well, you could let me fucking finish what I was actually saying, because I wasn't saying it was your breath, but you wouldn't know, would you?
Apologies.
There's something about this morning. I'll catch everybody later.
I'm not sure what just happened there. Um,
have 48 chromosomes. They, the Anunnaki, have only 40. They come to, would you speak to the people who believe it is Earth and they decide they're going to make this? They come to Earth and they decide they're going to make the slave. They decide we're going to use this creature of Earth. Let's say it was an Alma. They test the blood and what do they find? First thing, big problem, 48 chromosomes. All primates have 48 chromosomes. But they, the Anunnaki, have only 46 chromosomes. How do we know that? Because we have 46 chromosomes. We descend from primates, and yet somehow we lose 2 whole chromosomes. That's an awful lot of DNA. And somehow we're so much better than them. Well, they have 68 or something like that relative to them. But we don't. We have 46. So we know this was the result of the genetic engineering, and they had a problem. The Anunnaki did. What could they do? They had to, how it works. There's 24 in sperm and egg, 23 sperm and egg. So you got to get the sperm and the egg to match up, one or the other, 23 or 24. Can you take out a chromosome from the creature of Earth, the 24, and still have a creature of Earth? No. Can you add a chromosome to yourself and still have an Anunnaki? Go up to 24 from 23? No. You got a real problem. It's an insoluble problem. And you need that because you got to get the first hybrid to get in the game of the genetic engineering. You got to get something alive that is a blending of you two to begin to work on it. So what can you do? How can you solve that problem? There's only one way, and boy, is it smart. You go in and you look and you compare the chromosomes, and you find 2 that can be fused and will take up 1 space but maintain the integrity of all the chromosomal material. You find a spot where you can fuse 2 to make 1, and now you've got all the material but taken up 1 place, and now you're ready to rock and roll. You with me? All right, let's look at the number 2 chromosome close up. They just went to the second one. They just looked down the row and they said, okay, this will work. Orangutan, 2 and 3. Gorilla, 2 and 3. Chimp, 2 and 3. Human. Uh-oh. Fusion. How long do you think it would take Mother Nature to do this? There's no clearer proof that we're genetically engineered just like they say we are. Next slide. They come to Earth and they decide they're going to make the slave. They decide we're going to use this creature of Earth. Let's say it was an Alma. They test the blood, and what do they find? First thing, big problem, 48 chromosomes. All primates have
That's not. Hey, yeah, I don't know what's up. Just chilling, and I don't know. Everyone seems to have disappeared.